outside the world today than other than the Knicks winning. That was big. But tell us what else happened this past weekend, Don. I know I didn't watch it. I know you watched it.
I didn't
So
watch it, but I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the UFC card, the big
yeah,
UFC 250 and in the White House lawn, and
right.
yeah, Donald Trump, man, put on his own private fights on the White House grounds. Nobody's ever done anything like that before. We'll see if it sets a precedent for people, using the White House for future events. Right now that they have this huge thing set up in the front of the White House, I don't know if they're talking about tearing it down or not, but
Oh, they already did. They
did they?
already took
Okay, cool.
it.
Yeah, but I didn't watch any of it either. Right, like, but I saw some highlights, man. Like the guy who I was talking about last week. I kept calling him Shane, right? Because when I see SEAN, my brain says Shane, but it's Sean O'Malley, right? Like
Yeah.
Sugar Sean, right? I kept saying Sugar Shane. Y'all was like, "That's Sugar Shane Mosley." Y'all was right, but
Yeah.
Sugar Sean O'Malley, right? He's a bad boy,
Okay.
man. He won it. But what I found interesting was, well, two things happened, right? I did take some notes from just general shit, and it's the first time UFC had this many technical knockout wins in a UFC program, right? Every fight ended in a TKO,
Oh
technical
wow.
knockout, which apparently has not happened in UFC, and it doesn't happen in mixed martial arts that often as it is. That was one of the things that most valuable promotions got a lot of praise for in their last big card was because they had so many knockouts, right? But
Right.
uh, here are the people who won, right? I don't know these people's names, so I'm just gonna tell it like it is, man. Okay, so in the main event, it was the German guy, light heavyweight, against the American guy, and the American guy beat the German guy.
Okay.
Another one we had a Canadian guy, Zahabi or something, right? He lost to another American.
Uh-huh.
And then Pariva, he was a Brazilian. He lost to a Frenchman. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and then there was I didn't catch his name, but everybody's probably heard about the guy who was wearing the American flag bandana who won the fight. The white guy beat the black guy, and then he turned around and called Michelle Obama a man. Right, turned around and called a black woman a man. So that I thought kind of might maybe cross some lines, right? Like overall
Oh,
in
maybe
the
is
view.
not the word, bro. He crossed
Yeah,
the
so
line.
that's the
Yeah.
biggest highlight I'm taking away from that. Yeah, let me get your viewpoints on that, Corey, because like I understand freedom of speech. Dana White is all about, hey, on if you work for me, you can say whatever you want to say. You have freedom of speech, right? Which he does. But
Right.
to around and grab a microphone and talked about a black woman, right? And called a
Right.
black woman a man, and it just the overtone of that in my mind, even though I'm not the person to pull the race card, but man, it was unnecessary. That was unnecessary statement. But what do you think about that, Corey?
It was very distasteful. Remember, Michelle Obama is a woman of integrity that we know of. We've seen, obviously. Um, she won. I mean, not she won. Not she won. Her husband was the president of the United States. So former president, former first lady. That's very disrespectful for a person who is a former first lady. And then you just gonna go ahead and do that because I think honestly that was just something that was you go. We know what happened previously. Why they called her a man before. It was stemmed out of racial tension, and I look
Mm,
at it like this: everybody has their little jokes that they keep amongst their friends, and you know what I'm saying, that they don't get out because they're politically incorrect, right? You're not
mm,
supposed to say anything bad about it. And like people in their secret circles, they say stuff, some of the most heinous stuff, and they doesn't get out. Why? Because it's between your secret circle.
mm.
For somebody to be unethical and say something like that on the broad stream, and then everybody just laughing and smiling,
Yeah,
that's disrespectful. What if they called your wife a man? You know what I'm saying? What if they called your wife, you know what I'm saying, the person who said it, what if they called your wife a man?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How would you feel about that? And I
Mhm.
think people are getting a little slick and sly inside beside themselves, because if the FAFO comes out, you know what I'm saying, and somebody who just like, you know what, next time I see him, it's on site out of respect of Michelle Obama. You know what I'm saying? It is very possible it can happen. We got people out there that's crazy. But I think don't do that because I'm thinking like as Barack Obama, somebody publicly humiliating my wife,
Mm-hmm.
then I got a problem with that. I got a
Yeah.
big problem with that.
Yeah, right. I'm surprised Obama hasn't gone out there and said something yet, right, in defense of his wife.
I'm sure she probably
I
told him
haven't
not
seen
to.
anything yet.
I'm sure she probably told him not to because she
Yeah,
has this phrase: "When they go low, you go high," and he went
exactly.
very, 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 very low. So he
Yeah,
gonna get too low to a point where somebody's gonna step on his ass.
yeah.
Excuse me.